Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel and my remake again of Toda Una Macaire. I did not know that the original reaction I did to this, it involved the video going like that, and that for me spoiled the moment, because even though I released my other reaction and got a phenomenal response, I've remade it because it's such an important song, and Monica Naranjo is such a gifted singer, and her delivery of the song, that I felt it had to be remade because it's a very important message this video gives. The video Toda Una Mujer is the theme music for a documentary about sexual abuse, about people in San Sebastian who were the victims of sexual abuse by a photographer who is proclaimed to be the king of all photographers in the Basque Country. And he lived a very elitist life until one victim came forward, another victim came forward, and it propelled that he had a catalogue of victims that he sexually abused, manipulated. And then when they raided his apartment, his luxurious home, he ended up having child pornography on his video and was thus arrested and jailed. And Disney was one of these channels that the documentary was supposed to be released on. And Disney, it's a disgrace that you have been bought by those elitist people of the Basque Country that was involved with this particular photographer. Interested to know more? I'll tell you now. Monica Naranjo, looking forward to reacting to the lyrics again. But I always give a fresh approach because I'm full of new information now. So I have it all in my head what way I want to do this. All a Woman is Monica Naranjo presenting Toda Una Mujer, the celebration for International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. Monica Naranjo published Toda Una Mujer on all streaming platforms. This new ballad, composed by the singer together with her collaborator Pepe Herrero, launched ahead of the new documentary series by Senor Mono for Disney Plus on El Nombre de Ellas, which means the Coty, and I hope I say the surname right, Cabezdu case. Now, a production made up of 4 chapters on the criminal investigation into this well-known photographer from San Sebastian, involved in a plot of sexual abuse and production of child pornography with dozens of victims. According to the official press release, Monica Naranjo's torn commitment to this project is a deep tribute through music to the feelings of the victims and their struggle in silence for decades. Toda Una Mujer is a homage that surprises with its delicate interpretation, the character of the lyrics, and the harmonious melody of the music. The singer, Monica Naranjo, celebrated International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women with the launch of this song. And it's composed by the singer with one of her regular collaborators, Pepe. It's a wonderful production, everybody. It's very, very moving. Monica was so involved with this particular project that one of the victims, through the eyes and through her story, when she met a victim of this photographer, she wrote the lyrics, the poignant lyrics, with her collaborator Pepe, based on what she heard and the travesty that is sexual abuse that exists all over the world. Now he was proclaimed, sorry, as a photographer of worth, of merit. He had people. He was invited to esteemed parties full of politicians, full of TV celebrities, everything. He had a circle of friends and he was like the king of all photographers. and he lived a very lavish lifestyle. And then it came to an end when a victim came forward. I think with Disney not not showcasing, but not, I would say, allowing this documentary, I think it's a disgrace. I often believe that when you're involved with politicians and very rich people, you have the influence and the money to buy silence. And that those politicians have a lot of people above them that they can ring and say, look, I don't want this documentary aired. Because as well as the photographer, people around him whom he was associated to would have been mentioned as well by the victims, by people who knew the photographer, all of it. Now, every year on November 25th, it marks International Day for the Elimination Against Violence Against Women. And it's a date that commemorates also the assassination in 1960 of three activists from the Dominican Republic, the Mirabal sisters, who opposed the dictatorship of Rafael Trujillo. During the first Latin American Caribbean feminist meeting held in Bogota in 1981, it was decided in their honor that every 25th of November would be the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. An agreement that was also approved by the UN on November the 7th, February 2000. So this particular song, what Monica and Pepe had collaborated to write, the lyrics from the words in the mouth of the victim, because the lyrics is a testimony from a victim based on the story that Monica had heard and Pepe, is very powerful. And we have to remember that whether you have suffered sexual violence or not, it is the most disgusting, horrible, heinous crime ever. It destroys you for life because the person who perpetrates the crime takes away your life, any normality, any thought of having an existence as a human being in a human race on earth. It just eliminates it. We have to remember that. To find child pornography when they raided this photographer's home on his computers shows how depraved his mind was. And all those innocent children being shared amongst other pedophiles. So he belonged to a ring of sick people. And involved with him, I believe, because Disney has not shown this documentary, is politicians that want him to remain silent and don't want their names attached to it. In America, I can think of one particular case, and it's the Epstein case. The very famous case of one man that victimized many actresses in Hollywood. And he has been brought to trial, and he has been, I think, jailed as well now for perpetrating sexual abuse against the actresses and touching them and manipulating them. Hundreds of actresses, not just a few. People say a handful of people came forward in Hollywood to talk about it. Some of the most famous actresses in the world of television talked about their abuse by Epstein. Epstein had powerful lawyers, and so far I don't think he has got the jail sentence that reflects his crimes. And in this particular case in Spain, in San Sebastian, I don't think Cote has been given the severity of the law for his crimes. I think people have been very lenient, and I believe the reason Disney is not showing it is because San Sebastian is one of the richest areas in Spain, and you just walk around San Sebastian. It's in the Basque Country in the north of Spain, one of the most beautiful areas, but it's full of politicians. It's full of rich people and actors and actresses who don't want San Sebastian to have this dark cloud over them. So I believe a lot of people have paid and made telephone calls and have stopped the documentary. Disney, I implore you, morally, to show this on Disney Plus. You made an agreement that you would do this, and on 3 occasions you've cancelled it. And I say to you, that's a disgrace. Let's listen to Monica Naranjo. Let's listen to what and how she portrays the song, the theme music for this documentary, and I'll discuss the lyrics.
He callado tanto tiempo, sosteniendo el peso eterno, fiel a tu voz, arrastrándome en silencio sobre flashes de un pasado que enturbió mi razón.
Diciéndote no, adicta al miedo al verme ceder a esta mujer.
A esta mujer. Todos rezan tu destierro, siendo el rey de toda fiesta y plan de su clan. Como Judas te reniega, y lo curioso es que ya nadie hable de ti. Qué sutil.
Secreto a voces cruel. Sois tan culpables, tan miserables como él, al ver cómo ha quemado la vida que fue de una mujer.
He luchado muchos años y tu encierro me ha devuelto ser la de ayer, toda una mujer.
The end of that video says Il Silencio is Society Perpetual Abuso, is society of that defends people from sexual abuse and represents them throughout Spain and Latin countries. If you are a victim of violence or sexual abuse, it takes a lot to move forward. It takes a lot to step forward and speak. But somebody did to Monica Naranjo, and she wrote that song with Pepe. I've just got to say, Monica, it's very powerful. I was very moved. The reason I'm wearing red today, everybody, is to represent two things: my anger, and represent the blood spilled and sweat and turmoil of all sexual abuse victims of violence. This represents you, a homage to you in the color that I chose for this video. Let's continue now with the lyrics that I will quickly get through. I don't want to go too deep into it. I think I've already given what the premise of the song is about. Monica sings, "I've been silent for so long," and I do believe this is through the eyes, and it's based on what was told to her by a victim. And the victim says, "I've been silent for so long, holding the eternal weight true to your voice, dragging me in silent on flashes of an inn that clouded my reason." Straight away it's an insight into the vulnerability of those that the photographer, and I have to keep bringing up his name because I have to get used to him, Cote. I won't give him a title of Mr. Cote or any other name, just Cote. He deserves no titles. He stripped people of their dignity. He deserves no respect in return. But you can imagine what's just been said there. A victim walked in, the whole world at our feet, and thought, wow, I'm going to be having photographs by this wonderful man recommended to me, and I'm going to be famous. We live in a pressurized society today. Social media has destroyed people because people build the illusion if they look a certain way, they have plastic surgery, or they do whatever they need to do, they will have fame, instant fame. But over the years, and if you go back in Cote's career, way back then, social media wasn't so prevalent. Social media wasn't the thing that drew people to him. It was his fame, his notoriety for being prestigious in his choice of work. And people trusted him because of that. And they paid a lot of money to get photographs. But little by little, he stripped them of their dignity by getting them to undress. And people were willing, because people go in with, I trust him. Then it's, I believe there's a reason for this. And then you're drawn in to taking all your clothes off, which many victims did. And then he promised them things through sweet words. So he got them through his work, and then he sweet talked them, and then the abuse happened. Sometimes you don't need to be raped or touched physically by your abuser. It's their actions that speak louder than words, and Cote was a professional at that. His sickness came to light when people realized he abused children and discovered what they discovered on his computer, and the extent of his contacts that people do not know about. And I think the documentary would have touched on this, that a lot of people around him were involved as well. And I think that's why the documentary has never been shown. But it continues, your thought with your owner, with your dirty game of modesty, internal pain telling you no, addicted to fear, seeing me give to this woman. So that just points out about how the victims just trusted him, and everything he suggested, they went along with it because they trusted him. It continues, everybody prays your banishment. And this is now how the victim is telling the story about everybody. The first victim that came forward, then the second, then the third, all of them as a group, all the victims of this sexual abuse now wanted his banishment, wanted justice, wanted to go to court, wanted him to be condemned for what he had done to them. And being the king of all parties and plans of his clan, exactly, he was a renowned celebrity. Like Judas, they deny you. So in other words, what he promised, he failed to deliver. And the funny thing is that no one talks about you anymore. That's subtle. People don't talk about him because the politicians, the people he was involved with, the celebrities have silenced him, like they did with Epstein in Hollywood. There were so many famous men involved with Epstein's abuse. None of them have been mentioned. But it continues, mute, noise, a cruel open secret. It is a cruel open secret. It's a secret Cote will take to his grave. You're as guilty as miserable as he, seeing, and he has burned the life that was a woman's. So what Monica's saying in her lyrics is, you who remain silent, you who partied with him, who took part in the abuse, who were, like I'm sure those young girls went to him, got their photographs taken, then were taken to the parties, introduced to people, but in return probably had to do sexual favors. And then nothing happened. And come and see the blind begin to see. In other words, they were blinded by the words, by the actions, by the parties, by the high life. And then they did start to see why he was introducing them to so many people. And they started to see through his lies. Come and see the anger covers you with ice. And that anger is Cote's anger for being outed, for his lifestyle being stripped, and then being discovered to be the abuser of children, the paedophile, the dirty paedophile that he was. Imagine how many children suffered because of him. And still, justice is not done. Apparently he got 18 years. If he stripped so many lives of having a life, he should have got life. But that's because, and then if he's on good behavior, he'll get out in a couple of years. It's not justice. Violence was done against women. This song is dedicated to women. It has to stop. The documentary has to be shown. The truth has to be told. People should write letters into Disney from Spain and say, we demand to see this documentary. We demand to see what was made. We demand the truth. And Disney, you should be showing it. It finishes, I fought many years and your confinement is given back to be the one from yesterday, a whole woman. So through the eyes of a victim that Monica based the song on, and you can see her very emotional during this video. During this whole experience, there's one message. Together as a group, we can stop this. We can get justice and we can empower ourselves by speaking. That's the message of the song. Sorry it's a long video, but it had to be because it's a very, very important video. I hope you've enjoyed my interpretation. I look forward to your comments and your likes. Take care for now. Bye-bye.